Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Team Tuesday this week with Kim Hinsch. Hi, Kim. Welcome back.
Hi, thank you.
So, Kim, on Tuesdays, we talk about teams, but before we dive into teams, we obviously want to hear what is the book that most influenced you in your Scrum Master career?
Well, it's been a lot of different readings. One of the last books that I've read that have really inspired me and actually has changed the way I think in how to take things to the team is the book Corporate Rebels. It's a book that shows how different companies have really taken decisions to the team and made them even more empowered and even more have the ownership to actually get that product to an even higher level. And it can be in so many different ways. And that's what the book kind of helped me see, that every single company or every single team can actually, if they are given the chance and basically also the trust, then they really can grow above themselves. So yeah, that was really inspiring. It also has the story of the turn the ship around in it. So inspiring how one person can change how a lot of people think and how the teams really are made center point to make sure that the product is going to be even better. That's one of the must reads, if I have to say.
Absolutely. That's a great recommendation. We'll put the link on the show notes for everybody to go in and dive into it. That was one thing that you said I want to explore a little bit. You said it's examples of how one person can change an organization. And I was just thinking that's great and it sounds impossible, but I know it's not, because I read at least the Turn the Ship Around. David Marquet has been here on the show as well. And so I know that can happen. But one of the things that I got from reading Turn the Ship Around by David Marquet was that before that person could change anything in the organization, they needed to change something in them, right?
Yes.
And I don't know if Corporate Rebels goes through this, but that's one of the key takeaways I took from the Turn the Ship Around story, which is that David had to change himself before he could start changing the organization. Is that part also a big part of the Corporate Rebels?
Definitely. Because how the Navy had to change themselves by what David had done is basically also what happens in a lot of different other companies. What you see is people really have to change how they think. And as soon as they start to change, they kind of open up the possibilities for the rest of the people. And as soon as you see that you change and you give the possibilities, then other people blossom. So that's one of the red lines through the whole book.
Yeah, absolutely. And also for me, a very inspiring story. And now I'm eager to read Corporate Rebels as well, because I love these inspiring stories. Like in those dark moments of failure, like we talked about on Monday, having those stories in your mind can really save the day.
Definitely. And it's a book with, I think, 75 different companies across the world that have actually changed the way that they work and that the way the teams are empowered to be the best they can be.
All right, so look out for the link in the show notes. Now we turn our attention to those teams we were just talking about and how sometimes, despite whatever we do, they create their own problems, right? And we want you, Kim, to go through the story of a team. Like, tell us all the details, the interactions, the meetings that happened that started to show this pattern or set of behaviors that ultimately led to problems. Tell us that story, Kim.
Well, I think having teams with people that know best and have worked with certain best practices elsewhere and think that that is the golden ticket and are not willing to look at the current state or willing to try other best practices because they really need to enforce their choice, that's the hardest part to overcome, I have to say. What I've noticed that if we have new team members coming in from a different company and it's a completely different culture, not to say a company of land culture, but real company culture, it's hard for those people to kind of embed within the company culture that we are in right now. What I've noticed, for instance, in certain teams, or in my one of my teams, it was a new team, completely new. They had a new product with a new product owner, but it was in a company that has already been here for so long. The culture is already in place. And we had a lot of new people coming in the company with all their own beliefs and all their own career choices, etc. And also their own level of experience with different company cultures. What I found hard there was to incorporate those cultures together. If people come in and they have a certain culture that they can't let go, it goes two ways. And I saw that that was a kind of self-destruction of the team. The culture from the company was so tight, and their company culture that they were taking with was so tight, it didn't infuse with each other.
How did that look like in practice, though? Like, I understand the concept, but what was happening? Like, what were the signs, the conversations, the interactions that told you that that problem was happening?
Basic frustration, complete frustration. People were frustrated that they weren't getting things done. Company was frustrated that the team wasn't getting things done. The level of irritation amongst each other was enormous. That kind of blew the team up. So we had a lot of people leaving, and the company itself also had to kind of, okay, so why are people leaving? We don't understand. So the fact that they left, it was sad because they were really great people, but it did make something happen with the company, that they understood now that the culture shouldn't be too tight. They have to listen a lot more, and once again take things to the team and discuss as a team what's the best for this product with this team. So that's my main learning from this situation. But the fact that people were just almost burnt out. There was frustration, there were arguments, there was an undertone in every single session, in every single meeting. If you go into the company, you saw that people had a different view on what certain team was doing, how the team was interacting with other teams. It was major chaos.
For me, like when we talk about this clash of cultures that you were just describing, so definitely frustration is one of those tips that, look for it. If you see frustration, then there's definitely a potential conflict, and then of course you need to figure out if it's a culture conflict or some other kinds of conflict. But the other thing that comes with it is the normal, and I say normal not in the sense of good, but normal because it's there, the normal pressure that teams are under. Right? Like, let's not forget that a lot of teams have clear deadlines imposed on them by either the market or their managers, right? So they are working under pressure and they want to do things their way because that's how they get things done faster. I mean, at least they think they get them done faster. And then new people come in and they also think they get things done faster in some other way. And then we have completely different expectations caused by the inevitable pressure. Sooner or later, at some point, the team will suffer that pressure, right? And that's when the conflicts flare up. So I think it's very important for us to keep that eye on for frustration at all points, so that we make sure that it's not building up, right? We can still do something about it. And that's the question I have for you, Kim. If you could go back in time and relive that story again, what would you have done differently?
I would have once again taken it to the team earlier, maybe more in the sense like I did it with the workshop situation. First, have the real talks with the individuals that you can see that are being frustrated. Because I think that having those talks a lot earlier on that level, which of course is hard because they were new to the company. So the level of trust is still something that you have to build on. But if I would have been more open possibly and more willing to actually listen to their frustration and try and solve it, I could have taken that into the team and taken that into the company a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great tip for our Scrum Masters out there, is like, listen to the team all the time. And maybe even just, schedule that, look at your calendar and make sure that you are spending some time just listening to what the team is doing and their feelings and their frustrations. That was a great story. Thank you for sharing that, Kim.
Thank you.
Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. But tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.